All right, folks, we are live in the aftermath of the controversial draw. I will call it that for Manny Pacquiao and Mario Barrios Saturday night in the pay-per-view main event in Las Vegas. We are live on YouTube. Thank you for finding us. I am merely the somewhat competent host, TJ Reeves. Hello, Dan Rayfield, live in Vegas, where the press conference is about to get underway, so Dan doesn't have a lot of time. So let's skip all the pleasantries. We know that this was controversial. Give me your thoughts. It ends in a draw as Manny Pacquiao at 46 years old looked good, lasted the distance, but there is no winner, Big Dan.
I thought he won the fight handily. I had it 9 rounds to 3. A lot of other guys around me had it 8 rounds to 4, 7 rounds to 5. I've not found any media member that had it actually winning the fight for Barrios, or even a couple people with a draw. But I've yet to find somebody that had Barrios as the actual winner. I thought he got screwed.
I thought he did win 7-5 close. I thought it was interesting that the judges gave him each of the last 3 rounds. That's what saved Barrios, is he won the last 3 rounds on the official cards.
I missed the end of that.
Again, I believe the 3 judges all gave Barrios the last 3 rounds, and that's what saved him. He had to rally to win. Your thought when finding that info out?
Yeah, I don't think he won. Even if you gave him the last 3 rounds, I still had Manny Pacquiao winning the fight. So to me, that's the way it is. Barrios is here.
Barrios is talking. I'll let you go. Come back to me when he's done. I will stay right here. I'll let you depart. So Big Dan will actually depart the show. Again, we're doing this live, and we were trying to determine, okay, when is Mario Barrios going to be available, etc. He is right now. And again, I will just pick up on that point that Mario Barrios was behind on all 3 official scorecards. One of them, as it turns out, by 1 point with 3 rounds to go. The other 2 cards, Barrios was behind by 3 points. So winning the 10th, 11th, and 12th earned him the draw on those 2 cards at 114, 114. So again, the WBC welterweight championship fight ends, as you see up on the screen, with no winner, as it turns out, as this one ends in a draw tonight. Pacquiao comes out of a 4-year retirement at 46 years of age. He did look sharper. I know Dan and I talked in the preview mode about whether or not Manny Pacquiao would be rusty. Would he be slow? We saw him 4 years ago, basically beaten decisively at the end of the fight by Yordenis Ugas. The Cuban used the jab, the straight right hand. Pacquiao looked slow, reflexes slow, especially late in the fight. But Barrios did not take advantage of his jab the same way 4 years later tonight in Las Vegas. Barrios not nearly busy enough, especially in the middle of the fight with the jab. His own corner began to implore him late in the fight to be busier. It turned out that paid off to earn the draw. But this is one of those things that he may end up regretting, that when he looks back on this fight tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, that he could have potentially won the fight had he been busier with the jab and with the punches. So thank you for finding us. A lot of you are locking in on the YouTube page as we speak. I see the live audience joining us. Again, if you've just joined us, Dan is live in Las Vegas, where the Barrios press conference has gotten underway. I'm not sure if Manny Pacquiao is going to meet with the media. He did talk in the ring after the fight. He did say he would like to fight on and have a rematch with the San Antonio native Mario Barrios, the WBC welterweight champion. It remains to be seen on whether that will ever happen. How soon could it happen? The clock ticking for Pacquiao at 46 years of age, but hey, he was able to go the distance tonight in this fight. Again, there's a lot to go over. As you see on the bottom of the screen, we are also aware of the Oleksandr Usyk knockout win of Daniel Dubois. KO'd him in the 5th round with 2 knockdowns. The second knockdown, a thundering left that put Dubois down for the 10 count. So Usyk gets the rematch win, just as he did with Anthony Joshua, just as he did with Tyson Fury, and now he does it with Daniel Dubois in this rematch at Wembley Stadium on Saturday night, July 19th. It was a busy day all over the globe, Vegas, London, and we're also well aware that Jesse Bam Rodriguez has also won his unified junior bantamweight title, a little smaller scale than the other fights, but he scored a TKO win over Cafu, the South African, in Frisco, Texas tonight in the Matchroom main event. So Bam now has 2 of the titles in the 115-pound junior bantamweight division by virtue of that win tonight. So a busy night. Thank you for finding us. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. When Dan Rayfield is able to rejoin me, he will do that coming up here to give some more thoughts. You heard Dan say, and maybe you didn't hear it because you just joined us. I see a lot of live audiences joined us in the last 3 or 4 minutes. Dan said he thought it wasn't close. He thought the fight was something like 9-3 in favor of Pacquiao. I disagree. Again, on the big fight weekend card that I was keeping, I had Barrios winning the fight 7-5. I had the fight 5-all going into the final 2 rounds. I thought Barrios won all 3 of the championship rounds, 10, 11, and 12. No, he was not busy enough. But one thing, and I'm going to touch on this with Dan, and I'm sure he's going to give me pushback as he always does. When you're in the arena as he was, with the crowd chanting, Manny, 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 and anything Pacquiao did, if he threw any kind of a combination, whether it landed or not, the crowd is roaring. When you're watching on TV and you're detached away from that, it's not affecting you as much, judging it. And it's just interesting that the judges were not affected the same way down the stretch of the fight with the crowd chanting Manny, Manny, Manny. They were giving Pacquiao rounds in the middle of the fight, but they gave Barrios the rounds at the end. Again, Pacquiao ended up on the punch stats, which is not the total story, landing more power shots, 81 to 78, I believe it was. So not a ton of power punches landed in the 12-round fight, but Pacquiao actually landed more. But Manny missed more than 100 more punches than Barrios. A lot of his shots were missing throughout this fight, and the crowd still roared and oohed and awed. Look, I'm not dismissing that Manny Pacquiao at 46 years old still looks sharp. He did. One thing he benefited from is he was not in there with an all-time fighter. Clearly, as nice a guy as Mario Barrios might be, Barrios lost to Gervonta Davis. He got stopped. He lost to Keith Thurman on a one-sided decision. He was fortunate to get a draw last November with Abel Ramos. We talked leading up to this fight that if Pacquiao was going to pick a spot to come back, this was an ideal spot to come back against this guy because he's not a pound-for-pound fighter. He's not a big-time puncher, by the way. And you saw that throughout the fight where he hit Pacquiao some but couldn't really hurt him, couldn't stagger him, couldn't knock him down. Even though he's the bigger guy, he looked like the bigger guy in the ring. He looked a good 10 pounds heavier than Manny Pacquiao. And that's not to say that Barrios is not good. He's talented. He's good. He's just not great. So Pacquiao kind of took advantage of that tonight in the ring there in Las Vegas. So plenty to go over here on this Saturday night. Again, thank you for finding us live. Again, Dan Rayfield is taking part in the post-fight press conference as we do this live here on YouTube. That is going on at just after 10:15 Pacific time in the evening Saturday, 1:15 in the morning Eastern time. Adjust your time zone accordingly. When Dan is done with the question and answers of El Azteca, the WBC welterweight champ, he'll jump back in. I will further tell you that in a few moments, we'll also hear from Ricky Carroll. Ricky, the lead writer on the BigFightWeekend.com website, the managing editor of the website. He will have thoughts on the Oleksandr Usyk knockout of Daniel Dubois that was earlier tonight. Usyk KOing Dubois to regain the IBF version of the heavyweight title. He had the other 3 belts. The IBF had stripped him of their title a year ago for fighting Tyson Fury again in their rematch. Dubois eventually defeated Filip Hrgovic for the vacant IBF title, successfully defended it against Anthony Joshua with a win. And now this was the rematch of a fight they had a couple of years ago in August of 2023 where Usyk won by 9th round KO that night. This was more emphatic. This was more of a blitz knockout in the 5th round. He dropped Dubois with a combination, a left-right, the right to the head, dropped Dubois in the 5th round. Dubois looked hurt. He got up. The Wembley Stadium crowd of 90,000 plus gasping, and Usyk didn't take long, only a couple of more punches coming in to blast Dubois, including a monster left hand that dropped Dubois, much the same way that in the 5th round, he dropped Anthony Joshua. Dubois with the big right. This was Usyk with the big left, dropping the Englishman for the 10 count. He did not get up, and Alexander Usyk's amazing career continues. undisputed once again at heavyweight, former undisputed cruiserweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist. He's a Hall of Famer on the first ballot. And there's some debate now about what's his place in all-time heavyweight history. This was his 8th heavyweight fight. He's won 6 world title fights at heavyweight, 2 fights with Anthony Joshua, 2 fights with Tyson Fury, 2 fights with Daniel Dubois now. Give Usyk credit. And the real question is this one, and we're going to talk to Ricky Carroll about that in a few minutes. Is there anything left for Usyk to prove here at this stage of his career? And who with? I mean, does a fight with Joseph Parker, the WBO mandatory challenger, does that really mean anything? What about fighting WBC contender Ajit Kabayel? There's a lot of talk that Tyson Fury wants to fight Usyk again. Usyk didn't dismiss that in the ring after the fight, but I mean, Tyson Fury's lost to Usyk twice and hasn't fought anybody since then, hasn't beaten anybody since the second loss back in December. I don't have a reason to see a third fight with those two right now. I don't know, as it says on the screen here live on YouTube, what does Usyk have left to prove? So anyway, he is victorious as well. So we've got plenty to go over here on the program. We'll be here for a little bit live on the YouTube page. Thank you for finding us here tonight. Why don't we get a few of your comments in? I know Big Dan will be in here when he can rejoin us here in a little bit. Again, he is, if you're just joining us, in the post-fight press conference at the MGM Grand Arena, MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, where Mario Barrios is speaking to the media, and Manny Pacquiao may very well come out and speak to the media too. They talked in the ring. We're now about an hour after the fight is over, 45 minutes or so after the fight is over. Barrios is meeting with the media. We'll see when Dan can rejoin us. All right, let's see what some of your thoughts are immediately after this one tonight. Boxing God is always in here. He says that Barrios slaps gloves with Pac. Pac says, you hit me low. Barrios says, take a rest. The ref says, fight. I'm on the couch going WTF. Yeah, I thought Manny Pacquiao complained too much about getting hit to the body. Thomas Taylor, who's a great referee, told him 2 or 3 times in the fight, no, that wasn't a low blow. It was right on the belt line. He hit him on the right side, or actually the left side with a right hand, and then Pacquiao complained. And as Pacquiao continued to complain, I didn't know why Barrios did go ahead and hit him. You're not the referee. If you're just going to complain, it's you better protect yourself at all times. Go hit him. So there you go. Let's see. Little Penny, who I was always a fan of, with Penny Hardaway and Little Penny in those commercials, said, DTM, what's your score? Dan Rafael again had the fight. I believe he said 9-3 in favor of Manny Pacquiao. I did not agree with that. I thought Mario Barrios won the fight 7-5. This is what debates are all about with the scoring. Dan's going to talk about the range of acceptable scoring. Manny Pacquiao didn't win 9 rounds of that fight. He didn't win any of the last 3 rounds of that fight. If you got it 9-3, then that means you gave him all 9 of the first 9. I don't buy that at all. Let's see. Who else is in here? Webfoot Chicano says it seems like Barrios held back. I would agree with that. Not nearly busy enough in this fight tonight. Not nearly enough with the jab that Ugas was so effective with in trying to keep him at bay. Nando 510 says, how do they sell a rematch? Manny was fine, but Barrios was awful. I think he was more tentative than anything else. Let's see. Anybody else here on this? Patrick says Elite TJ stalling while Dan is away. Yes, we'll do our best to get back with Dan. And again, we've got the Ricky interview from earlier tonight here to come in a few moments. Let's see. Anybody else that's in here that's got some comments on what we have? What is this? Duffel bag. Dustin says, what's up from Omaha? Let's go, Bud. Omaha in the house, the home of Bud Crawford. Okay, that's the next big bout that's coming with that one, and Canelo Alvarez. Let's see. Drew, I believe it is, or is it Dren? It's Dren. He says Usyk is the best of this generation. Certainly in the heavyweights, you can make the argument. I mean, who's better? He beats Joshua twice. He beats Fury twice. If you had some kind of argument that Dubois deserved a rematch, Usyk answered that tonight, so tough to argue on that part. Anything else? Dark Kid says, calling it now, Floyd comes back for Barrios just out of pettiness. I was watching the fights with my good friend Peter Blake, and he said to me, is Floyd Mayweather going to fight Manny Pacquiao if Pacquiao wins? I said, never say never. if Pacquiao gets the decision here, never say never, and the fight ends up being a draw. Spike Lee weighs in with the comments. Thank you, all the commenters. We appreciate it. He says, fun chess match. Manny had no cramps. Impressive comeback. You cannot disagree, Spike Lee, that at 46 years of age, give him a lot of credit for the fact that he was able to last the 12 rounds. He was still active. Again, I assert he was not as effective as maybe the crowd would have you believe by cheering. He was not landing a lot of those combinations, only an occasional punch here or there. He deserves credit for lasting the distance. He was obviously in shape. Again, Barrios is going to regret the fact that he was not busier in this fight. Let's see, a couple of you weighing in. Nico says Usyk versus Lennox Lewis. Who would you pick? That's interesting. I asked Ricky Carroll that, and we're going to go to that interview coming up in a couple of moments. Boxing God says your opinion on Usyk and Vitaly, meaning Vitaly Klitschko. Again, that's a bigger fighter. It's another Ukrainian. Interesting debate on all of that. All right, again, we await Dan Rayfield to rejoin me. We're going to hang here with more of his thoughts. Again, if you're joining us late, maybe you're watching it back, so you already know this, but if you're joining us late, Dan popped on for the first couple of minutes and said, I thought Pacquiao clearly won the fight and defied the odds here. And then the press conference started up. So Dan will come back with some other thoughts on what it was like inside the arena. By the way, great co-feature fight where Sebastian Fundora wins the rematch with Tim Tszyu on a TKO after the 7th round. Tszyu battled, fought hard, got knocked down early, but Fundora was just better and bombing him from the outside. And it really looked like Tim Tszyu was concussed again at the end of the 7th round. He didn't even know, standing in his corner, if he was going to sit down, if he was going to continue. And the fight ends up being stopped. Huge rematch win for Sebastian Fundora here on this Saturday night, because it keeps him really relevant, obviously, for unification, for the likes of Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz in this division, and the other junior middleweights that are there for that fight and that win. Huge night for Sebastian Fundora in this one as well. All right, why don't we do this as we rock along earlier in the evening, because Ricky Carroll is based in Europe, where it is now early Sunday morning, about 5:30, 6:30 in the morning, depending on where you are in Europe, in the UK, etc. Ricky joined me on Saturday night European time to talk about the Oleksandr Usyk win that headlined the card at Wembley Stadium from Queensberry Promotions and Riyadh Season. Usyk goes 2 for 2 with Dubois, just like he did against Tyson Fury, just like he did against Anthony Joshua. So let's go to that conversation with Ricky Carroll, who is the site editor of Big Fight Weekend, with his thoughts on Oleksandr Usyk, his greatness, his place in history, etc., off of this win tonight, as our recap show continues here on YouTube. All right, Ricky, impressive. Another knockout for Oleksandr Usyk against Daniel Dubois. This one quicker, this one in the 5th round, this one emphatically at the end. That's me saying that. What are your thoughts as he once again is undisputed? He maybe shouldn't have had the IBF belt taken away. It figuratively was. Now it's back. It's back in a big way. What are your thoughts? Thank you for doing this. And what are your thoughts?
No. You're welcome. Appreciate you having me. He was dominant from the first bell. I just thought he looked really, really sharp. Normal Usyk, light on his feet, in and out. What surprised me was he looked like he was annoyed. He seemed like he was annoyed at the beginning of the fight, and he had a bit more spite in his punches than I've maybe seen. I don't know if that's him just getting used to heavyweight, maybe, but he's been heavyweight for quite a while now.
Right.
But his punches...
Annoyed, why? Annoyed because he had to fight this guy again to get the IBF belt back?
Yeah.
Annoyed, why, in your opinion?
Yeah, maybe. In my opinion, I thought he was disrespected in the build-up a little bit. There was a lot of people speaking about how much Dubois had improved, and rightly so. He has definitely improved since the first fight. But yeah, and there was still too much spoken about the low blow, if I'm being honest. Not the fact that the other 8.5 rounds of their first fight were really one-sided.
That's right. That's right.
And it was even more one-sided this time, bar the first part of the third round, probably the first half of the third round tonight. I thought Dubois seemed to be a little bit more positive, but I just don't think he could figure out Usyk's movement. His feet movement in and out, he was countering, was just so sharp. Every time he fell short, Dubois, or missed, he was getting punished. Very, like, it was,
Well,
yeah, it was really good to watch. Really impressive to watch.
We see why the man is undefeated and formerly undisputed at cruiserweight and now undisputed here. It hasn't happened accidentally. It's happened for the reasons that you're saying. He's difficult to hit. He's got the high guard. He's difficult to hit. He uses head movement. He uses leg. He uses in and out with the legs. He's bouncing up and down. And it almost looked like to me that he was measuring Dubois for the counter. And that at some point he knew the counter punch from Usyk is going to come. He's going to get the opportunity. And that's what we saw in the fifth round. He caught him with a counter in the third round, near the end of the third round, hard left. And
didn't he see his legs go a little bit then?
Yeah, he did. He did wobble a little bit, and then he caught him and hurt him, and then didn't take long to finish with the thundering left, where Dubois' gum shield, as you guys call it, or mouthpiece, came flying out, and he's down on all fours and got the vacant look. And that was emphatic. That was emphatic tonight. What about him being the ultimate road warrior? Dan Rayfield was talking about this. When you look at his career going back to cruiserweight and fighting Gassiev in Russia and fighting Huck in Germany and coming to England and fighting Anthony Joshua at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and, seemingly, go back and come back and fight Dubois in this situation at Wembley. The man is not fazed by any of this. Pick it up on that, Oleksandr Usyk.
Yeah, Dan brings up a good point. He can go anywhere, any country. He's that good. He is that good. He'll win anywhere. He'll fight anywhere. He's shown his bravery, his class. If there was any doubters, and I can't believe there was, but if there was any doubters, there won't be any doubters after tonight. I don't think that he's definitely number one. He's definitely number one. I would love to see him have that. If there is one more fight, staying on the road warrior conversation, I'd like to see him have a fight in Ukraine if it's possible. I don't know how that is. I know they've had football back, haven't they? I think. Or a game here or there they've had back.
Right.
But
But at this point, it's too dangerous, I think, for safety. And so that would be so I was logically going there. Do you believe, first of all, at 38, with all that he's proven, that he will fight on? For the record, he said in the ring, 38, I'm just getting started, is essentially what he said. Do you believe he will fight on, Ricky?
For me, all I'd want him to do is Joseph Parker. I think he deserves his opportunity at Usyk. Not that I think he'd win, because I don't think he would. But I think he's done enough over the last couple of years to warrant an opportunity. But apart from that, I would rather him retire, if I'm being honest. I don't want to see him fight Fury again. I don't want to see a trilogy against Fury. I don't want to see a trilogy with AJ. And I certainly don't want to see a trilogy with Dubois as well.
Right. Well, at this point, let's pick it up on that. Financially, sure, but what does Tyson Fury offer right now when he hasn't beaten anybody else since the two losses? What does Anthony Joshua offer at this point? He lost twice to Usyk. He got knocked out by Dubois. I don't know what either one of them really offer for a third fight to that point, right?
I completely agree with you. Neither of them certainly deserve to jump in front of Parker or Caballero. Who I think are probably the two at the front of the queue. Parker ahead of Caballero. It's just because he's more active. But both of those are two very good heavyweights. But just because they're big names, I don't see why they should come back and jump to the head of the queue. And it seems like, I don't know if you saw the Jake Paul interview on the DAZN broadcast, and he seems pretty certain that the Anthony Joshua fight's happening.
Yeah, he came right out and said it is going to happen. and he said he's going to knock him out.
So,
But Jake says a lot of things, and Jake, I was in Anaheim, and he said in the ring he had a list about 15 people long, including Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, about who he was going to fight. So who knows on that, on what fight they make. I wonder. Let's move it into legacy here with Ricky. He doesn't need a Joseph Parker fight for legacy. He doesn't need an Ajit Caballel fight for legacy.
Really
I just wonder what motivates you to fight on into the latter part of this year or next year for legacy reasons, right?
For legacy reasons, there's not really anything left, is there really? I'm talking about Joseph Parker just because I think if you're looking at one more fight for him, he's the most deserving.
Right.
But apart from that, if I'm looking at it from Usyk's point of view, I've seen loads of tweets from people in the boxing industry who are saying he should just walk away after tonight, and I think he should really. He's done everything. He's proven himself in 2 different weight classes. If you count the undisputed at cruiserweight, that's 3 times undisputed now, twice at heavyweight.
Olympic gold medal as well. Massive amateur career, 300 plus wins as an amateur. You got to take all of it into account.
And people were talking about him. A lot of people were talking about him aging, saying he'll be slower tonight. He's 38. Dubois can punch. This, that, and the other. That's probably the best I've seen him look for a while.
And you know what? Maybe he is slowing a little, and maybe it will be a bigger factor if he's fighting a younger, better fighter. But like you just said, it was not the case tonight. Perfect. It wasn't the case tonight that he was too slow to find the range. He found the range.
He looked confident all week, even having Dubois' team. They were trying to bait him all week at the press conferences. Shouting things in his face, and he just looked so focused. Never looked rattled once, not even for a second.
Nope.
He's just a consummate professional, and to be honest, it's just been a privilege to watch him.
Yeah.
If that is the last time we see him, it's been a privilege to watch him.
I mean, in the last 4 years now, 2 wins over Joshua, 2 wins over Fury, 2 wins over Dubois, on top of the cruiserweight resume. So yeah, that's a run.
Yeah, such a good point you bring up there. And people were talking about the Dubois run of form, and fair play. He had 3 great wins up until tonight. 3 really good wins where he wasn't the favourite in any of those fights.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue the Miller fight, maybe 50-50. But no one talks about the Usyk run. No one's really spoke about it all week. The run of form that he's had and the people that he's beat in the lead up to this fight. And I think he's got better since the first Dubois fight as well. He's improved.
Yeah. What's his place in history right now in your mind? I know Dan and I have gone back and forth. Dan's the ultimate historian, and he says he does not at the moment belong in the top 10. He hasn't fought enough as a heavyweight. This is now, I believe, an 8th heavyweight fight. This is a 6th heavyweight title fight. He's won them all, obviously. Does he belong in the Ricky Carroll top 10 all time, or does he not belong in an all-time top 10 right now, Usyk?
Yeah, no, in my top 10. He's definitely in my top 10. He's in my top 5.
Really?
The problem I've got is I'm of a certain age where I can only go back so far. And if I go back further to the days of Ali, Joe Louis, and that
Foreman, Marciano, those kind of guys. Right.
Foreman, I've seen a little bit more. It's because I was young, but I'd seen him. I saw the Michael Moorer fight, and I can remember that. But the Ali days, I'm just watching old videos.
Of course.
So it's difficult for me to really formulate probably a fair, rounded top 10. But if I'm looking at my era, from what I know, like Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, he definitely belongs right in the middle of all those names.
Holyfield is an excellent comparison because Holyfield was a tremendous light heavyweight and cruiserweight before he was the heavyweight champion on 2 occasions.
Yeah.
Usyk, Holyfield, who you got? Who you got among the top? I mean, that's an interesting debate, isn't it? Comparable.
It's a very good point, and I think Darren Barker, who was on the DAZN broadcast this evening, he summed it up perfectly. And they had Lennox Lewis on the studio as well, and he said I would fancy Usyk against any heavyweight in history. He's saying, I'm not saying he would beat every heavyweight, but he was saying I would give him a really good opportunity against any heavyweight. So I would say, to answer your question, I would probably pick Usyk, and I love Holyfield as well. He was a big favourite of my dear old dad's and my older brothers as well. So he was a big part of us growing up, Holyfield. But I love Usyk.
And Lewis was big, and Lewis had firepower in either hand. That would be a challenge, but I mean, let's give Usyk credit. Tyson Fury's bigger than Lennox Lewis. Tyson Fury's every bit of 6'8", every bit of 260 pounds. Yes.
He hurt him as well. It was the ropes kept him up.
Yes, and Usyk handled the much bigger man in both of those fights. I'm not saying it's a cinch. It's a guarantee that he handles Lennox Lewis, but it would be a competitive fight based on what we've seen. Yeah.
100%. And I cannot tell you how much I love Lennox Lewis. I think he's still in my bio on the bigfightweekend.com website as well. Yes. He's still there. I watch his videos every day. I'm the biggest Lennox Lewis fan.
All right, there's our buddy Ricky Carroll, who did a great job earlier tonight with me, breaking down the Usyk victory from earlier this evening. Okay, thank you for being with us live. And look who's back aboard. Hello, Big Dan Rayfield, live from Vegas. Live show, baby. And Big Dan is right back after the Pacquiao-Barrios fight and post-fight press conference. So the live audience has been clamoring, we want more Rayfield. They've been chanting, Rayfield.
I'm holding my phone. I don't have my stand.
I understand. You don't have the stand, and you don't have long because we don't want you to get evicted from the place. All right,
no, we're good.
All right, pick it back up on the Pacquiao-Barrios. The arena chanting for Pacquiao. Give us a bigger taste. We saw it on the TV, but you were there. On how amazing at 46 that he lasted the 12 rounds and was that competitive. What are your thoughts?
Well, when they announced the scores and they called it a draw, it was like the entire building filled up with the announced crowd was over 13,000. That the air just got sucked out of it in a minute because the disappointment was palpable. Whether you were rooting for Manny or you were like many of the people in the media section who we all had Manny winning the fight. Few people had it a draw, fair, but a lot of people had it scores like 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, and was very shocked when not only was it a draw, but one of the judges actually had given it to Mario Barrios. So that was a big surprise. You know, we were all kind of girding for a Pacquiao win because it just felt like he was it. Even though Barrios did a good job in the last couple of rounds of the fight, fine. But for my purposes, I didn't think it was enough to actually get the win. In the end, it turned out to be a draw, and we just wrapped up the press conference. So Barrios came here. He said he would give him a rematch if that's what Manny wanted. When he was done, Manny Pacquiao addressed everybody, answered questions, and he basically said, "I'm back." Like, in other words, it's not a one-shot deal. He plans to fight again. He would be happy to do a rematch. He said, somebody asked him about Floyd Mayweather, obviously. He said, look, he's retired, but if he wants to come out of retirement, I'm happy to fight him. But as he said multiple times, the Pac-Man is back.
Interesting, especially as good as he looked throughout the middle of the fight, especially. And again, we should point out, a lot of live audiences joined us since we were talking about this at the very beginning of the show. On the official cards, all three judges gave Barrios the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. He was down 2 points on one card, down 3 points on the other two cards. That's what saved him. I mean, that kept this from being a Pacquiao victory. And had he gotten the victory, it would have been historic. Say that again for the audience on what was on the line had Pacquiao gotten two of those judges to go for him tonight that didn't happen.
If he had won, obviously, the crowd would have been ecstatic, number one. But from a historical perspective, he would have broken his own record as the oldest fighter to win a welterweight world title. He had set that record when he defeated Keith Thurman at age 40. Now he'd be age 46. He also would have been the second oldest fighter in boxing history to win a major world title. He would have been right behind Bernard Hopkins, in between the two times that Bernard Hopkins did that at age 48 and a couple years younger than that. So that's a big historical sort of milestone that anybody could have. But it was look, I asked Manny at the press conference, I said, I know you didn't win the fight, and so you're disappointed that you didn't get the win and that you didn't get the title. But do you take any solace from that? You didn't lose. I mean, you were the underdog substantially in some markets. People thought you were going to be an old man and get punched up, and you did. You look good. A lot of us, we all thought you won the fight. So do you take any silver lining in that? And he was like, he thought about it. He's like, I'm glad that we put on a good fight. I did the best I could. He said that a few different times. I did my best. And most of us thought it was good enough. Two of the judges didn't.
Again, Big Dan Rayfield is in Vegas for just a few more minutes here. I want your thought on the co-feature win by Sebastian Fundora, who scores a TKO over Tim Tszyu. He dropped Tszyu in the first round with a straight left hand. He hurt him a couple of other times. Tszyu actually rallied some in the 5th round, rallied in the 7th round. Great toe-to-toe action in the 7th round. And then Dan Tszyu looked like he was somewhat concussed at the end of the 7th round. He was confused in his corner, like, do I sit down? Do I stand here? I'm just saying that, just watching it on TV. I don't know what you saw in the arena. And then they waved the fight off in between rounds. What's your reaction? Most importantly, Fundora won the fight. What's your reaction?
I thought Fundora fought a great fight. The first time around, there was obviously the massive gash that he suffered at the end of the 2nd round that totally changed the fight, because through round 1 and most of round 2, as we've discussed, I thought Fundora was getting his ass kicked in that fight, and I thought Tszyu was about to stop him. But no such issue this time. You can't complain about short notice, because that last fight was made on 10 days notice. It's a lot easier for Fundora, I believe, to adjust to a Tszyu-sized opponent than it would have been for Tszyu to adjust to the gigantic 6'6" Fundora on short notice. Couldn't use that as an excuse. There was no cut or anything like that in this particular fight, and he had plenty of time to prepare for the fight. Tszyu was just not as good as Fundora tonight, obviously. I thought he got battered, he got beat down, he got bloodied, and I think him and his team just realized that I can't do anything. I have no answers for anything. So I didn't see the video. I don't know if it was the trainer that pulled him out or Tszyu himself said, I'm done.
He walked back to the corner. This is on the video. He's standing there in the corner, Dan, and I'm describing this for the audience that probably saw it, and it almost looked like he didn't know what to do. Do I sit down? Do I turn around and go back out because he might hit me? It's like he didn't know where he was for a moment.
Who stopped it?
This is Tszyu. So they spun him around. They sat him down. They're talking to him. They waved the referee over, and then one of the cornermen's doing this, and the referee stuck his head in and I think asked Tszyu, do you want to go on? And Tszyu said no. So it was definitely Fundora's night. So that leads to the logical question: what does this set up for him in your mind in a very deep junior middleweight division? What does it set up for Fundora now that he gets the 2nd win over Tszyu?
Well, the good thing about Fundora is he was asked, because he's been, after the fight against Tszyu the first time, we've discussed how he didn't really have a serious nose injury from what he said. He said he rested it for a couple of weeks and he was fine, and he didn't fight for a year. He said he wants to fight another time this year, maybe even twice more if he could do it. So he wants to get right back in there. He says, I'm willing to fight any of the top guys out there. There's, as we know, there's a lot of good talent in the fight, in the weight class. He did mention about he's going to be paying close attention to the fight that will take place this coming Saturday. I forget if it's Friday or Saturday, with Xander Zayas going for the vacant WBO title that he vacated to take this rematch that Tszyu had the right to. So he said, maybe I'll try to get my old belt back. So that would be a fight he'll watch closely, and that'll be something very interesting. But it's a great weight class right now, and Fundora clearly stands at the top of that group right now.
All right, I want your thoughts from earlier in the night, London time, in the afternoon, U.S. time, on Oleksandr Usyk's 5th round KO win over Daniel Dubois. We both thought Usyk would win and win by knockout. He did. It took a little bit to ramp up, but, man, he leveled Dubois in the 5th round. What are your thoughts, Dan?
Wasn't a surprise to me at all. Oleksandr Usyk is a much better fighter in every phase of the game, maybe not for one punch, pure power, but the problem with Dubois is he doesn't know how to deliver it consistently in terms of putting his punches together. It's kind of one shot at a time. Now, when he lands, he can do major, major damage. But against a brilliant defensive master who knows every angle and every nook and cranny, it's a 1 in a million pretty much to land that shot. He was not able to do it, and he doesn't have the best chin in the world. And when he finally was getting cracked, I felt like a matter of time. It was a brilliant performance from Usyk. As he said in his post-fight, he's 38, but he's not old. What can you say? He put on a great performance. He went, and again, he did it in the other guy's hometown. London is where Daniel Dubois is from. He's fought all over the globe in everybody else's hometown, and he's kicked everybody's ass, basically. So he is clearly the heavyweight of this era. He's beaten Tyson Fury twice. He's beaten Daniel Dubois twice. He's beaten Anthony Joshua twice. He was the undisputed cruiserweight champion. You know, he's a great fighter. End of story. The only thing that there's to discuss about Usyk is where do you put him among the all-time great heavyweights?
Sure.
And that's the question. I've had my say about that. I may have to revisit my scenario. I'd like to see him fight. People keep saying, well, who's he going to fight next? I saw some discussion maybe, you know, because Fury said he's going to exit retirement, and he and Turkey were talking about trying to make that match for April. And nothing against Fury, but I don't need to see the third Fury fight right away. Give me a fresh guy that deserves a shot. Give me a Joseph Parker who earned it.
There you go.
Give me an Ajit Kabiel who earned it. Give me one of those types of fighters. And by the way, Parker, he is the mandatory. The WBO is going to press that. They allowed this fight to take place. They're not going to mess around. And I hate to see Usyk as undisputed once again come off that win and get stripped of a belt by an organization for no real reason.
How realistic is a Parker fight in your mind? On a scale of 1 to 10, is that a 7? Is that a 5? Is it an 8?
I don't know
think that he would fight him?
I'm not doing numbers, but yeah, I think it's absolutely possible. If he wants to keep the belts, Parker's a worthy challenger. He's a former champion. He's the current interim champion. He's with Frank Warren. Now, well, Alexander Usyk's not with Warren, but they've done a lot of business together. It's a very makeable fight. I don't think it's going to be the kind of fight where Joe Parker, if you look at the type of guys he's fought, he's not going to price himself out. He wants the opportunity. There's no reason why that fight shouldn't happen, and it would be it's not going to maybe draw 90,000, but okay, not every fight's going to draw 90,000.
Well, and it may be back in Saudi Arabia for the lucrative money as part of the Riyadh season in the winter.
Absolutely.
December, January, something like that, that fight.
I can't imagine that if Turkey's putting on those types of shows in Saudi, that he wouldn't want to have Alexander Usyk defending the undisputed title in Saudi Arabia against a very worthy fighter. And keep in mind, Usyk has scored his wins against Tyson Fury in Saudi Arabia. He also has, Turkey has put Joseph Parker on cards in Saudi Arabia, where he defeated Deontay Wilder and has also had another victory. So no reason why they shouldn't make that fight. Clearly, that should be the next heavyweight championship fight.
All right, real quick, neither one of us was able to watch the Bam Rodriguez victory. We can't comment on how he did what he did. He did win by TKO tonight, Dan, in the 10th round over Cafu, the South African. It makes him the unified junior bantamweight champion. So just say something, because, again, we can't analyze the fight. You and I didn't see it. I've seen the highlight of the bizarre TKO where he hurt Cafu. I don't know if you've seen this, Dan, and they fell on each other, kind of like a football tackle. Then Cafu's got legs. He's wobbly. The ref waves him off. So it was kind of weird.
I've not seen one. The only thing I've seen is the result.
It was weird how it ended, but what about the significance of the win for Rodriguez and the future and what he's got coming?
Well, the future is set. He won the fight. I don't know. I assume he's not injured, which is good. And so he'll move on to November 22nd. He'll be in a 3-belt unification fight with Fernando Martinez, which is a tremendous matchup. And that'll be one of the fights on that very deep Riyadh season card that will also include David Benavidez against Anthony Yard and Brian Norman against Devin Haney, and the fight between the young guys, Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason for the vacant WBO lightweight title. And then you add Cafu. I mean, not Cafu. You add Bam Rodriguez in the unification against Martinez, and that's a great show. I mean, True.
And again, that's coming in November, so Bam will be right back. He's an exciting fighter, there's no doubt. All right, any other final thoughts from Vegas? I will say to the audience, we're going to do a full podcast recap that'll be out on the normal timeline. We're just doing this live after the fights. You said you were around Manny Pacquiao after this was over with, and you believe, just repeat it, you believe he's going to continue to fight. He's going to fight again, perhaps with Barrios, perhaps with somebody else, right?
It's not a matter that I believe it. Manny said it multiple times. He said literally, and I quote, "The Pac-Man is back." So he has every intention of fighting again. I can't tell you if it'll be again later this year. Although that said, look, PBC does not have a lot of inventory, if you will, to headline a pay-per-view card. Obviously, Manny Pacquiao can. I mean, they'll look at the results of how this event did. But if they can secure the proper opponent, I can absolutely see Manny, in the fourth quarter, possibly in another fight here in Las Vegas, against, some good quality, reputable opponent. He's not looking to fight nobodies. He either wants to fight big names or fight for titles. He's, he's in the welterweight division, so bring him on, he said.
Any other closing thoughts? Anything else being out there for the return of Pacquiao? It does end controversially in the draw. Anything else on the card? Anything else we left out?
There were some good performances in the preliminaries, too. I mean, Gary Russell looked really good in the comeback after 3.5 years. Scored a knockout, not against a top opponent, but he looked sharp, I thought. That was good. Mark Magsayo, who was the Filipino that worships Manny Pacquiao, had a very exciting but one-sided win in his fight as a former featherweight champion, now fighting at the junior lightweight limit. So he did what he was supposed to do. So all in all, I thought it was a very entertaining card. The Figueroa fight against Joet Gonzalez, I thought Joet finally got a little bit hosed in that fight. That was really close. I felt bad, Joet, just as a hard luck loser in some of the fights he's dropped. But I will say this, between the 3-fight preliminary card and the 4-fight pay-per-view card, this was a very good event top to bottom. Every single fight was worthwhile to watch.
Pitbull Cruz also
Cruz, yeah.
at junior welterweight over the last minute
That
opponent.
was another. Look, Salcedo was a little overmatched, I thought. He also took the fight on 1 day's notice, but it was also the same thing for Pitbull. Remember, he wasn't taken on a 1 day notice like he wasn't training. He was in an 8-rounder on the undercard. He just moved up, but he just was outclassed. He seemed a little bit gun shy.
Yes.
He was holding a lot. And even with that happen, Pitbull still made it fun to watch. So, again, I thoroughly enjoyed the event.
And by the way, again, Fundora and Tszyu had just heated up in that 7th round. And then, again, Tszyu was taking some shots at the end of the round. And I think this is worth saying, and we'll follow up on the podcast. At this point, you wonder where Tim Tszyu goes from here. He's been beaten repeatedly. He's been knocked out again. Second time he's been knocked out since last fall when Murtaza Aliyev knocked him out. I don't know where he goes from here at this point on the big stage.
I mean, I have nothing but good wishes for whatever he does. And I'm not saying he should retire, but his time near the top or at the top is over. That will never be at that level again.
And we can stop all the comparisons to his dad and blah, 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 because he just, at the biggest moments here, he's been beaten and beaten badly tonight. The story, again, is the controversy. Dan believes Manny Pacquiao was the winner. I understand that he looked good at 46 years of age. Incredible that he was able to go the 12 rounds. We wondered. We have the answer. He was able to go the 12 rounds with Mario-Barrios. Will we see him again? We'll find out. All right, let's do this. You regroup. Get yourself back to Northern Virginia. It's going to be a fun day of travel for you. And why don't we reconvene on the Big Fight Weekend capping podcast, the Fight Freaks Unite recap podcast off the weekend. I appreciate you being live in the press room at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Good stuff here tonight. Anything else? We good tonight from Vegas?
I'm out, baby.
All right, excellent stuff from Dan Rayfield. We thank you for watching as well as we've been live on the Big Fight Weekend YouTube channel in the aftermath of the draw for Pacquiao and Barrios. Good night.